Some episodes may contain graphic content or sensitive topics, while all episodes will consistently feature offensive language and absurd speculations from two opinionated women on a spiritual journey just trying to figure shit out. Listener discretion is advised.
We have a special treat for you today. Welcome to Coven Conversations.
Hello and welcome to Hexhaven. We've got another Coven Conversation for you guys. Today, Heather and I are sitting down with a tarot expert named Diana.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you so much for coming on to chat with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Should we just jump into the questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, start us at the beginning.
Yeah, like how'd you get interested in tarot?
Okay, well, see, it's funny that you call me a tarot expert because I don't know that I'd frame myself like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Because when I was originally taught, I guess that I'm generationally trained. I actually learned how to read cards from my grandmother, but they weren't tarot cards. They're regular playing cards.
Oh, is that the
cardomancy? Yeah, this is how
we just recently learned about that.
Yeah, regular old playing cards. And my grandmother was the one who was always sitting at the kitchen table and she was always playing solitaire. She always had a deck of cards out.
Yeah.
And then when we started getting a little bit older, my mother would start saying that, oh, Mom, do you remember when you used to tell us our fortunes before we'd go out on Friday nights and Saturday nights? And of course, my sister and I were just like, oh my God, what is this?
Right.
So she immediately grabbed her cards and started counting them out. And these are actually the cards that you use when you're, so it's the 9 all the way up through the ace.
Okay.
You pull those out. It's affectionately known as the euchre deck. Those are the same deck that you use to play euchre cards.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 are not there?
No,
Okay.
you don't use those.
Okay.
And they all have their specific meaning, different things for different people.
Wow.
But now, see, when she'd show that, like my mom said, she never picked it up because she was just like, whatever. And my sister would play with it, but she was like, whatever. And I was the one who was like, well, what does this mean? And so my grandmother sat down, and I still have it somewhere, the sheet, my cute little girl handwriting, where I sat down and wrote down what every single card meant.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
So,
your
yeah.
little study guide.
Yeah, I was always like Hermione Granger. Always.
Yeah.
I was always the little Hermione. And then later on, because we're originally from Chicago, when we moved out to Indianapolis, we were in downtown Indianapolis, and we had never seen like a witchy store, and they had one downtown. And of course, we gravitated to it instantly. And so my mom's talking to the women who run the shop, and she starts telling them about, oh yeah, well this one, she can read cards, and they bring her over to the tarot section, and of course we've never seen cards like this before.
Yeah.
And that's when this deck of cards was bought for me. I
Your
was about
first deck
11
of
years
cards.
old. Yeah.
11 years old,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my mom
Awesome.
bought them for me. And the women there were fantastic because it was like I was buying a puppy.
Right.
They were, oh my God, her first deck of tarot. And so they, they set me up with this box. They told me that I needed to keep them wrapped in a natural fiber. So I had to go get a piece of silk to wrap them in. So this is cute.
So why are you wrapping it in the natural fiber?
That's just what they told me to do.
Okay.
So
I'm
was
just wondering because there's
and
legends about voodoo dolls that when you're not in use, you're supposed to wrap them with a natural fiber.
This is what the women there instructed me. So this is like a little piece of silk that my grandmother had laying around. This is me tiny stitching with the sewing machine. And then at the time, because I was into all things witchy, this is the rune for protection. So I hand stitched that in there. And then the most important thing they taught me was that the cards had to bond with me. So I had to put them under my pillow on the night of a new moon and sleep with them under my pillow for 7 days and 7 nights. Wow. And then start working with them. So that would give the cards a chance to bond with me.
Okay.
And
Wow.
that's why I was told. So, see, I have some very strange ideas about fortune telling. Like when you see all of these call 900 numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
I do not believe in any of that because
Right.
I have been taught significantly my whole life that I am the conduit. These are the tools. And the only way it works is if that we're together and you talk to me and touch the tools.
That's something I was actually hoping to ask you about is like there's a lot of like
here.
AI tarot and stuff like that. And
Now, see,
like apps and stuff, and I was just wondering if there's any merit in those.
Now, you know what? I like to play with things like that because I think if you're already kind of on the path where you're kind of playing with the idea yourself, there might be a randomness in there where it might spark something for you.
Yeah.
Where, you know, it'd be like if you pulled your own card. Now, see, personally, I don't tell my own fortune because I could get into arguments with my cards where that's not what I really meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, you know, because
Yeah.
it is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, but in the same time, if you're looking for something intuitive, I think that would help. But other than that, no. Especially if someone is going to charge you money.
Right.
If they are not sitting next to you with their tool, do not pay them a red cent. There's just no possible way that they're going to get a true reading off
Right.
of that.
Well, and I think too, like an app could be used for someone like trying to learn. It might help
Yeah.
you learn what each card means, something
That's-
like that.
You know what?
But-
That's actually why I play with a couple of those different apps because
Right.
I like to see what they think the card means.
Right.
I like to see what their interpretation of something reversed is. I like to see what they think it means when it's crossed.
Right.
Because, you know, there is a certain aspect, you know, like I brought my little book that I got when I was like 15. This was my first encyclopedia of fortune telling.
Oh,
This
my
is where I got
goodness.
my first. There's a little bit of everything in here, but this is where I got my first actual tarot learning from. Yeah.
So this deck of cards, was it like a Rider-Waite
Yes.
deck?
Yes, that was the first one that was given to me. Now
Okay.
I have, like, you know, it's dangerous because there's so many different kinds. I probably have over 30 decks of tarot.
Okay, I am not a reader, but I probably have about 6 because I have really cool decks. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I have a Stranger Things, like the TV,
Oh, yeah,
the Netflix
absolutely.
shows.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, they have a deck, and there's just lots of random decks that I find where I'm like, oh, this is cool.
Oh, the artwork
Yeah.
is
Like
amazing.
I have like a Day of the Dead deck
Oh,
that
God,
I
yeah.
think is like amazing.
We were just speaking about voodoo. I have a voodoo deck that's
Yeah.
but as far as it goes, as far as interpretation, and if you really look into the history, and here's Hermione Granger talking, the Rider-Waite tarot deck, they spent a lot of time and a lot of craziness
Sure.
and a lot of magic actually delving into the symbolism on each
Right.
of these cards. And I find for myself as a reader, especially when I have you sitting next to me, there are a lot of times that one small tiny thing, because even on the plainest card, there's
Yeah.
a lot of symbolism going on in here. I will find, like, especially if someone's like talking to me, say like a time frame, all of a sudden something's going to pop up where all of a sudden I'm going to notice there's like 3 hills in this background. And all of a sudden I'm like 3 weeks. And I don't know where that's coming from,
Right.
but I know it's being
Sure.
instigated by the things I'm seeing on the card.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I always read with the Rider-Waite, because there's just so much little symbolism on there,
There
that I can
is.
key into.
I have a deck that it's based off the Rider-Waite deck, but it's in black and white. And I like it, but I find that going online looking at the pictures that are in color, it even brings like even more meaning sometimes.
Yeah, because really, you'd be surprised, especially once you start actually studying the cards. You'll be surprised how different things stick out to you depending on your frame of mind, depending on the question. Because, you know, even just simple words, you know, okay, you could say the Ace of Swords is a sex card. That's, you know, that's the sword going through the crown. Okay, obviously. But, you know, sex to what? Your sexuality, someone else's sexuality. Are you getting fucked over?
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know, there's a ton of different ways you can interpret that. And then that's where the tiny little things really help you hone in on it. Well, you know, that's when I make people cry.
You bully.
Yeah.
So, have you ever used the Aleister Crowley deck?
No.
No. Okay. Well, we did an episode on Aleister Crowley, and I did like a lot of reading.
He is very, very fascinating character.
I didn't know he had created his own tarot deck.
Oh, yeah.
But
He created his own sex magic. He created everything he needed.
Oh, trust me, we talked about that grody.
The sex magic,
Yeah.
and the
It's
Red
funny.
Boys, the Red
It's funny
Boys.
because my newest black kitten's name is Alistair.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I love the name.
I
adore
truly
it.
do.
I like it because it's supernatural.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things about it, like real experts preferred not to use that deck. They didn't didn't find the value in it. They thought it was too complicated.
And the other thing too is like with certain individuals, and I'll stand firmly on this. When showmanship becomes more important than the craft itself, then you have to look at the actual genuineness of it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because, it's the difference between a magician and a practitioner.
Yeah.
I mean, pick a card, any card, or poof, that person actually just disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, and I think he falls into that category.
I agree.
I think the showmanship was much more important.
His ego was...
Yeah.
Oh, he was a narcissist.
Right,
For sure.
than the actual practice.
Yeah.
Right.
It was more fun pretending to be that. And I'm
sure the drugs helped.
disparaging. I'm not disparaging. Hey, he could have been the greatest black magician of all time. Who knows?
Right.
But I believe the showmanship of it and the free sex and drugs was a lot lot important than anything else.
Yeah,
sure.
The notoriety.
Exactly. I think that
Absolutely.
was the most important part of it. Not any skills or gifts.
Right.
This book that you gave us to look at, the Encyclopedia of Fortune Telling.
You know what? And I've showed that to many people, and you can still get that on Amazon.
Really?
And it's 1,000,000 years old.
So
That's my little girl handwriting in there.
So it's dated 1988.
That's me.
Can I read what you wrote in there? It says, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for?
That's little baby Hermione.
Yeah. Is that not wild?
That gave me goosebumps.
You have pearls of wisdom in 1988.
I know. Yeah.
This is like a really great book, though.
It is. If you look through the chapters, it gives you just baby snippets of like everything.
Runes, too.
I Ching, everything's in there.
Yeah.
But if you see, I use like birthday cards, and I mark the tarot section, and that's actually how I first started reading tarot.
Yeah, there's actually quite a few things you have in here, like little notes. Oh my gosh, would this be your notes?
Maybe some of them, yeah.
But it's adorable that
it's all
you've
little
held
girl
on to
stuff.
this for so long.
Yeah.
How special.
Yeah. So because I've shown this to people, so you can still get this thing on Amazon.
I have like an original from the 80s Rider-Waite that I found thrifting. That was my first deck, and then I've since have found like one with all elephants on it and stuff like that. Like
they're addictive.
Oh yeah,
because
I have
they're
a
little.
Hocus Pocus deck too.
Yeah.
Like
you got me that dog one.
Yes. Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. I haven't done it for a while, but like when people world traveling, tarot decks are a good thing to buy from all over because they're little and they're cheap, and you can just throw them in the
Yeah.
So I've got a deck from France when someone went to France, and I've got a deck from China.
Okay. So have you slept with those at a new moon for 7 days?
Nope. No, because these are the only ones that I use. And
so you just got those as like souvenirs. You don't use them.
Yeah, no, they're
for your
for
craft.
show, not for go.
Yeah.
Because these are. I'm actually transitioning because this is the actual original deck. You can see how they're falling apart.
Oh.
Yeah, those are the ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are the ones I've had since I was 11 years old. And
Okay.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I've never read what to do with them. So actually, when I bought the new deck, I integrated them. And yes, then I did sleep with both decks under my pillow just to wake these guys up.
Yeah.
And now I can't.
I wouldn't get rid of. I mean, I feel like they have so much value.
I can't read without these.
Yeah.
So these come with the new deck because I feel like they're somehow connected.
Okay.
Right.
So I'll see what my Witchstinct tells me to do with them. But for now, they just travel.
I would keep them. I don't think I would ever get rid of them.
I can't.
Like you've had them for so long, they're part of you. Like,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Where now these are the ones that I'm actually telling fortunes with, but I can't. It feels like these are the mentor cards.
Right.
Right.
They have to come with and make sure these are properly charged.
They're supervising.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really weird.
So the first time I ever had my fortune read was by you.
Really?
Was during Halloween time.
Yeah.
I had invited Sharon to join me as well, but she has kids, so she had a lot on her plate.
yeah.
So and I want to say it was like Halloween night. So
It was, yeah.
I was doing
That was
my
the first
ritual
time I
that
ever did
night.
But
and it was my first ritual.
Yeah.
Or my blessing.
Oh, she was at home doing rituals.
Yes.
Okay, that was your priority. I
See,
see.
that was first for all of us because that was the first time I ever read for the public. That's why I was glad you were like up first because I was super nervous.
Yeah. I was nervous, but I was more excited. you know, because I had never been read before, and the only thing I know about tarot readings is what you see on TV, which is like this lady in this dark room that's flipping cards and telling you when you're going to die.
How about Madame Cleo, baby?
Yeah.
I tell you your future right now.
And I'm like, do I really? But I really was curious because her and I are on this journey where we're trying to open our minds spiritually and mentally and trying to look at everything. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do it because I got to know that it's more than what we see on TV.
Yeah.
And I went back to her and I was like, I wish you would have came. I was like, you know, it was nothing like it's perceived in media.
Yeah.
She does it very differently. I was very concerned that, because you always see leading questions, just like with like fortune telling.
See, I think most of the time it's like that, though, because that's why most people kind of push me to do it. And a lot of times, if I get a bad vibe off of someone, I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's, you know.
Well, and I thought the way you read, you were like, you think of a question, don't tell me what you're thinking, and then I'm going to read it, and
we'll see where we go.
And it may not seem like it fits, but I guarantee you in a week, 2, 3, it's all going to come together.
Yeah.
And what you read for me absolutely did.
Yeah.
And I was like, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never told you what I thought about. I never told you. I probably won't.
No, you don't have
because,
to. Yeah.
You know.
Because, see, that keeps me honest. Because, see, okay, usually with when I tell fortunes, it's, you know, for my sisters or my mom or someone really close to me. So I kind of feel like it's almost cheating because, you know, I know them. I know what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
So, and usually, you know, especially with my mom, you know, she's like, you know, asking what time it's going to rain next Friday when she's going to the doctor. So, you know, it's very, you know, very specific.
Yeah.
So, you know, with other people, I didn't know how well it would translate because of the fact that most of the time that is exactly what I say. Even when I do the regular cards where I don't get as much information, rule number 1 is don't tell me anything because, like I said, I'm the conduit. That's the tool.
Yeah.
You know, we're literally going to play a hot-cold game. I'm going to tell you what my tools are telling me, and you're going to tell me yes or no.
Right.
That's how we begin.
Right.
And 99% of the time, right out of the gate, it's yes. And then we can move. Because then I can start explaining a little further. Okay, now this is leading me here. This is showing me this. And then usually by the end of it, we're crying. Or you're crying.
Did you get feedback from the other people that you read that night?
Pretty much everyone cried.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know.
I mean, it's a lot.
I can't, it's like I can't put up a disclaimer saying careful what you ask for.
Sure.
Well,
and, you know,
and that was my my issue with being open to it, because I remember you had told me and I was like, I'm not sure that I'm ready for it because there's so much that just, if it comes out, I'm not sure if it'll stop, you know?
Right.
Well, yeah.
Like the tears.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't tell.
But I think her approach is so different that you don't have to worry about that happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Unless you choose to ask
I was going to say,
question.
your experience, like what you did tell me, it made me feel a lot better. Mm-hmm. And then I went out and I bought a tarot deck and I've been using it since then.
Yeah. But see, and I think it's more sincere that way too. Like I said, you know, if you're looking to pay someone and they want you to give them a full biography and then tell your future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you are being conned.
Right.
We were talking about that.
The soulmate sketch.
The soulmate sketch. You ever see those things where you can contact
Pay me $40.
us? Yeah, a psychic, and they'll send
I think
you a
Sharon
sketch.
and I watched that documentary.
Well,
is that tied in with that?
It may be, but there's people like just on Facebook, you'll see the ads and stuff where you can have a psychic draw a picture. And so I said, I'm going to check it out. So I went in, and the first question was like, do you prefer men or women? And I was like, well, shouldn't they know that if they're psychic?
Yeah.
So I selected one, and then the next one came up and was like, do you prefer white, Hispanic, African? I mean, like Chinese, like 100. And I was like, well, shouldn't they know that too? You know?
And can I only pick one?
I know. But then she said to me, did it also add, like, can you please send us a picture of your ex-boyfriend or the person you have a crush on? You know, it's like,
it wants to draw you a picture of who you want your soulmate to be.
Right. So I was like, oh, this is a con for sure. If you're psychic, you shouldn't have a screening process.
But see, that's how I feel, though, because it's like, you know, I used to hate it because, you know, like at run fairs or things like that, my mom or my sister would pay for me to get my fortune read. And they'd always tell the fortune teller that I was a fortune teller. So then I'd sit down and I'd be, sitting in front of either this old woman con artist or some 14-year-old who was terrified. And then I'd just be like, all right, did you lay them out? And, usually they sit you down where you're sitting across from them. Mm-hmm. So now I got to read my own cards upside down.
Right.
Because, they're freaking out. And it's like, should I begin, or we're going to split this in half? I'm not tipping you,
Yeah. We're going to split this in half?
Exactly. Because it's like, do you want me to tell your fortune? How's this going to work now? Because that's happened to me twice. And then it's like, now I just don't tell people, just no. That's so stupid. Why would you do that to me? Right. Not only first to pay someone else to do it for me, and then to tell them that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's like
to put them on the spot like that.
Right.
So, but like I said, when they start asking all those questions, it's like, at least pretend.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Put a little razzmatazz into this. Come on now.
Right.
The guy over there can guess my age and my weight, Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Yeah. And people are just so willing, if you call yourself a fortune teller immediately, it's like they want to tell you their entire life story.
Yeah. And they'll be like, now tell me my future.
Yeah, and it's like, but you just told it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping to get married and buy a house.
Right.
And I
it's
love
like,
my two cats.
I'm so heartbroken, and this guy really likes me. Will you tell my fortune?
Yeah.
I think you're really heartbroken and you really like this guy. I mean,
right.
You just told me what the cards would have poked out. So, So that's why I'm kind of firm about it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked that about how you read. It made it real.
And that's the other thing, too.
It added value to it.
Because when I grew up with my grandmother, we never sat across the table from each other. We always sat side by side.
Okay.
So I don't get this whole I'm an authority. See, I think that feels like an authority figure. I have to read them. You sit next to me.
I sat next to you.
I was going to ask you about, like, how you go about doing, the practical part of it.
I have the person sit right next to me, and we look at the cards together.
Yeah.
And I kind of show you what I'm looking at. And she knows there's a lot of hand-waving and then backtracking because all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, now this makes sense. And
as she was pulling cards, she was like, now this one makes sense for me. And it was really cool, man. I really suggest anyone.
Do you do like a 3-card spread, or are you using just kind of...
I do a Celtic Cross. I just do the basic Celtic Cross.
Okay.
That's what I do with the tarot.
Awesome.
And I feel like I get enough information from that. Anything past that and you're beating a horse. And if you have a good relationship with your cards will eventually tell you to fuck off.
Right.
And you will get the cards where they'll be like, I already done told you, bitch. You ask me again and I'll set myself on fire.
So how many cards are in the standard Celtic Cross?
4, right?
4?
Well, hang on. We'll pretend.
1, 2, 3.
Because you do your signifier, so that would be like you. And then you do what covers you, and then what crosses you, and then what's above you and below you, and then behind you and before you. And then this is you. And then this is your house, so this is very tied. And this is your greatest hope or fear, and then this is your future card. So that's a standard Celtic Cross.
How many cards is that?
So
3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So 10 cards.
So 11 with the signifier, because the first thing I do is let you shuffle the cards
and pick a card.
Right.
I remember doing that.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what I'm looking for is one of the. Oh, see, now you're gonna. That's why I'm not a tarot expert. We're looking for one of the suits. Because I'm going to choose one of the suits based on your age.
Okay.
And also, whichever suit you choose is going to cue me in on your personality.
Oh, okay.
So if you're a sword, or if you're a cup, or if you're, in here it's pentagrams, sometimes it's coins. Or a wand. My mom hates being a wand. She wants to be a sword, but she just beats things to death. But yeah, so it gives me that, especially if you're a total stranger, like from a cold reading.
Right.
That's my cards letting me know what kind of person you are.
Okay.
And it also helps me figure out, how I should deliver the news sometimes.
Yeah.
So any other setup could potentially have more than 11 cards?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen there's rainbow spreads. There's 3-card spreads.
I had no idea they could get so intricate. I had only knew like a 1-card pull or a 3-card.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what I just did right now. That is like the old school Celtic Cross.
Okay.
So, like in the old spooky movies, that's what all the old gypsy women are doing. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's the shape of a cross. And then up the side, that's your final run. This is really telling you, because like the above and below, that's like what's in the mind. That's the background of the matter. This is what a little bit in the past. This is a little bit in the future. And then that last run is what's happening. And then the future. And that's why you start cross-referencing, because it's like, oh, if this is happening, that's because this happened a little bit in the past. If this is the future and this is what you're afraid of, well, that's because this is happening a little bit in the future.
Okay.
And that's when I start cross-referencing things.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's where the little details start popping up. Because it's like if I notice something here and then something pulls me back here, that's when all of a sudden, I don't know. That's why I always, this is terrible, but I always try to be a little bit buzzed when I tell fortunes because of the fact that I have to let go. I can't second guess myself.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I have to go, and I call, instead of instinct, I call it my witchstinct because I just have to, it has to be straight from the hip. Because no matter how crazy it sounds to me, it usually locks.
It locks, yeah.
It locks in for whatever I'm reading for whomever I'm reading for.
Yeah. We did this workshop, and we were given a card to consider one day. And it was interesting to talk about how we interpreted it differently.
Yeah, we both had the same card, but we interpreted it differently, which was...
Yeah, and like when we talked about it, it was like it was pretty much the same kind of meaning, just in a different way.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm seeing as far as the symbolism goes, and, you know, even just the straight up, okay, this is what this card means this way. This is what it means when it's reversed. And then when you get into the more, you know, you can find all sorts of books with pages and pages on each card. And this is what it means when it's with this card, or when it's in a trifold with these, or if it's related to this. And, it, you know, you can memorize all these things. But seriously, you get to a point where instinctively you start feeling these things. Where, oh, you know, there's a bunch of these cards popping up, but then it relates to this. And like I said, nothing beats it when you just all of a sudden feel that, where it's like...
It all clicks.
Yeah. Did you do this? Or have you seen this? Or does this make sense? And then it's pure. Then you know it's pure.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really cool. Love it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, my deck, I had never heard about, like, sleeping with your deck. I did hear it was important to bond with your deck.
Yeah,
I was like, well, I'm not really sure what that means, so I just kind of started studying it by, like, pulling one card a day.
That's perfect.
Yeah, and then, like, now I'm doing, for an episode, the major arcana, just kind of going through different websites and, like, books, how much of it kind of lines up, and just, like, writing myself, like, the upright, the reverse. And the meanings and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
And then it's super cool because it's the minor arcana that became our regular playing deck, except for some reason we lost one of the boys. Because we have a king, a queen, a jack, and a knight in the tarot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we lost one of the boys when we switched over to the playing decks. I guess it got too much.
Really?
Yeah.
With the cards, do they use the jokers in there?
No.
Okay, because I thought...
But we do have a full.
Okay.
We do have a full. Yeah.
Yeah?
So...
Interesting.
Because the original tarot deck were used as playing cards.
Right.
So there were games with the major and the minor arcana. So the more you study it and the more you look at it, you'll see it's really, really cool. And then the more, I'm sure, probably around, you know, the Inquisition, I'm sure that's when the major arcana got kicked. And they start, you know, because that was bad.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's probably when they started shifting to the regular deck that we know and love today.
Right.
And that's when, you know, people like my very Catholic grandmother started learning how to tell fortunes with regular playing cards.
Yeah. So she had this talent, but yet she was Catholic.
Oh, very Catholic, yeah.
So
she never saw it as one compromising the other in the least.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
I'm
interesting.
starting to realize as we're going on this journey that that's pretty common. There's actually, like, a lot of people who see it. It's more of, like, I think, a fluid feeling. It's kind of the same. The witchy stuff is just part of the belief in the religion and all that.
Catholicism is very mystical.
It is.
they're asking us to believe a lot.
Yeah.
And the more you look at it and the more you look back into it, I mean, from my own personal Catholicism, I realized that a lot of those saints were just old gods and goddesses that were just brought forward and renamed.
Yeah.
Because it was a lot easier.
Agreed.
It was a lot easier
Yep.
than fighting a war and destroying it.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? That's fine. It's not Brigitte anymore. It's St. Bridget.
Yeah. We saw that too with voodoo and vodou. They just kind of kept their gods and formed them to the Catholic saints.
Santeria is
Yep.
the same way. Exactly. Yeah. I had a real crisis of faith when I was about 17 when my mom almost died. And I had a really bad experience with the priest that came in to give her last rites.
Okay.
And I went all the way around the world exploring and then ended up being Catholic again because I realized that, oh my goodness, pretty much all the way around the world's represented in my Catholicism.
Yeah.
I just have to stop listening to these stupid old men who don't even believe in their own faith anymore.
Yeah.
And embrace my faith. And
Right.
just appreciate the beauty, appreciate the goodness, appreciate the people that are still trying to be kind and good in my faith, and just ignore the bad.
Right.
Because, if people like me don't stick around and try to get rid of the bad, what's going to happen?
Right.
This institution's just going to collapse under its own weight, and the child predators and the old men who are in charge of everything are going to win.
Yeah.
So, the only way it's going to survive is if, little witches like me show up to church with their mothers every now and then and maybe cause a little trouble and say, no, screw you, I'm fucking
Right.
Catholic.
Ask the hard questions.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, by the way, I'm fucking Catholic.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I've always felt about it. And yeah, my grandmother, because she was born in America, but then they moved back to Poland for a while because her family had gotten split up. She came from like a family of, oh God, this is so gross how they say it, 16 live births. Who knows how many dead births?
my
Yeah,
gosh,
that's
yeah.
back in the good old days,
Yeah.
when women were breeders.
Yeah. Need
But,
more people to work the land.
Yeah, right. She was the oldest kid that was born in America. Because
Wow.
the other ones were already like married off and stuff in Poland. They went back and she didn't come back to the States until she was like 10 or 11. So she actually learned how to read the cards from the old village, like
Poland?
wise woman in Poland.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So that's where she picked it up because she was obviously good at it and pestered her all the time, and that's how she learned.
So, would you consider yourself a gypsy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was the other thing that the stories with the family. So my maternal, that's the same grandmother I'm talking about. It's my maternal mom, my mom's mom. She used to tell the story about her mother, and it was an illicit affair. And apparently, she stole a man who was married and had 2 children. And they don't know where she came from, but she just came into the village and he fell in love with
Didn't
her.
her sister tell us the story too?
I think so.
Yeah. And she stole him and he left the village, left his wife,
'cause they
left his kids.
Said she put a spell on him.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is that she put a spell on him for him to have done that. And then he married her and had kids with her and started all over with her. And then it was weird because, once I started getting into the witchy, once I started getting into the witchy stuff and started, reading about the histories of different things, I started realizing that I was like, hey, wait a minute, where did she come from? And then I started realizing that we did all these strange Catholic things, like if we needed a parking space, would say 3 Hail Marys. Yeah, the power
who
of 3.
doesn't, right? The power of 3 is...
Yeah, but specifically, and this is something that my mother and my grandmother, and apparently it was passed down. And I'm like, so where did this power of 3 stuff come from? Because, that's like really magical practice. But no, that's Catholic. That's just us saying prayers to, so it doesn't rain when we go to Great America or we can get a parking spot, So the more I started pushing and asking, the more I realized that woman was more likely than not a gypsy.
Right.
Who
Okay.
he fell in love with and ran away with. Because everyone in the family, believe it or not, I'm considered the dark one in the family. With all this Polish and German and Irish blood, I was the first one on my dad's side of the family born with brown eyes. And on my grandmother's side of the family, they were all thrilled because Busha is grandmother in Polish. Oh my God, she's dark like Busha. She's dark like Busha. And apparently this great-grandmother, everyone would speak Italian to her because she kind of looked Sicilian.
Right.
And now the other thing that I discovered, and this was really crazy, is now I don't know if you guys know anything about Polish food, but it's not really anything to write home about. It's not.
My husband's Polish,
I'm a little Polish
I'm learning
as well.
Okay. It's not bad, but
Love
you
me
know,
some sauerkraut.
Right, but
I
it's
like
not
pierogies.
exactly, okay, all right. But it's not spectacular.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my grandmother was very famous for this bread that she'd make, right? And of course she learned it from her mom, etc., right? So I, of course, got the recipe and, I've got a bread machine and I'm flipping through the recipes and I'm like, holy shit, this is my grandmother's recipe. It was for a French bread.
Okay.
So it's like, so I guess the gypsy headed from that direction when she ended up in Poland, which is why everybody loved that bread so much because it was a French bread recipe. Nobody had ever seen bread like that in that region before.
Crazy that a recipe led you to that revelation.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because everybody was always, for like all the church things, raffles and stuff, my grandmother would have to bake like 30. I remember it being
because she makes that special bread.
That special bread. She'd make plain and then she'd make it with raisins because it was so good. And the name of the actual bread's leaving me right now, but it's like a very simple but basic but very famous French bread.
Yeah. Wow.
And that was my grandmother's recipe because when I saw it actually there, I was like, oh my God, this is my grandmother's bread recipe.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's really crazy.
So yeah, that's why I was like, oh my God, we have gypsy blood. I was like, this stuff is starting to make a lot more sense now.
Right.
Yeah.
The fortune telling,
I've always thought of you as kind of a gypsy as well.
Yeah.
I really,
It's really strange because people always think they know me. Mm-hmm. People always think they've met me. They always think they've gone to school with me. Mm-hmm. And no matter where I go, this is the funniest part, I am whatever they are. If they're Italian, I'm Italian. If they're Greek, I'm Greek.
Yeah.
If they're German, I'm German. If they're Irish, I'm Irish. I just have this, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I've known you for a long time.
You have.
I get it.
So you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I
People
know.
just assume that whatever they are, I'm the same.
Right.
And you're one of those persons that people swear, like, I've met you before. Do I know you from somewhere?
And when I tell them, no, I went to high school in Indiana, they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I have
you
no
know
idea.
better than me.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
But yeah, it's always been like that. People are always like, no, I know you. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah. So, since you're like, you associate to being a gypsy, do you think that has negative connotations to it? Or do you embrace the negativity being the black sheep?
I do. Because I have the fortunateness of being able to adjust because of the fact that I wasn't raised in any of the negative parts.
Right.
Because, them as a people, my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, when they rounded them up, it was the gypsies and with the Nazis, please.
Yeah.
They've always been a pushed out people. I mean, and then if you even study it back, there's that one theory that they were one of the original castes in India that picked up and left. They were the artisans and the musicians.
Oh,
and the magic
I've
makers.
never heard that.
Yeah, and they were one of the original castes. And when they decided to stick with the caste system, they were like put below, and they thought they deserved to be a higher up in the castes. And they warned them, if you try to put us down there, we'll leave. And the myth is that they woke up the next day and they were all gone.
Wow.
They packed up as a people and left.
Wow.
And then gypsies are also tied into like the lost tribe with the Israelites when they got separated. That sometimes they say the gypsies are that lost tribe that they never found. There's a lot of different mythological sources to where, because the people themselves, they're not gypsies, they're Romanis.
Yes.
And the language they speak is Romani, but I don't think it's really a written language. I think it's mostly a spoken language.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my God, those poor people, wherever they've gone, they're at the bottom of everything and get the,
Yes, and I'm super fascinated by the gypsy culture, the Romanian culture, Romani culture.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like it's not a written language.
Because-
it's a spoken language that only they.
Exactly.
Like, it's not taught to
Right.
people
No,
beyond.
outside.
Like,
And
you're
it's-
never going to...
Druids were.
Yeah.
And there's such a small subculture, they can really protect it because it's they're still such a small
Yeah.
protected subculture.
Yeah.
And they don't really stay around long enough to stay in schools long enough, so they teach their own kids. So, I mean, they can really, really keep it alive and well.
Right. That's a culture that, because I'm fascinated with it, like the men tend to be laborers and the women tend to be card readers, like
Yeah.
tarot readers or palm readers
Absolutely.
or something. That tends to be what their talent is. It's how they make money.
Yeah, it was, because that was...
And it's generationally passed down.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I listened to like a podcast one time about a woman that had to like flee
oh, yeah.
because you can't just leave. You
Oh,
can't
no.
just
Yeah.
divorce your
because
husband.
we're making it sound very romantic right now, but most of these
Oh,
situations are,
they're-
forced prostitution.
Right.
So.
She talked about how she had learned since she was a young girl, and when she had left, she tried to like work a normal job, and she just couldn't. She
Yeah.
couldn't make the money. So she went back to tarot card reading, and then a lot of people like criticized her, like, "Oh, you left that culture and you're still doing this?" She's like, "It's the only thing I know. My mom
Yeah.
did it. My grandma did it. I'm good at it. Like, it's literally the only thing I know that can make me money and support my kids."
Right.
Like, it
Just
has
because
nothing to do
you learned
with
it from somebody who maybe isn't on the up and up doesn't mean it doesn't have merit.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, I think that there's a lot of people that are like that too. When you're brought up within that culture, because that's why I think a lot of the Romani are funny because of the fact that they'd be the first ones to tell you it was a ripoff, and the first ones to also walk backwards around you 3 times and spit because they'd be afraid just in case you were real.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but they're really known for being like con artists.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, because within any, there's good and bad within anything.
Right.
But I mean, it's just the same way you could say all the negative things about Jewish people. I think it's just attached to that one particular.
Right.
It's just racism,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
xenophobia.
Right.
For sure.
That's what it boils down to. And it doesn't matter what else they try to do or how they try to escape it. What are they supposed to do?
Right, because the thing is, it's generations and generations and generations of people saying these things are bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, the way you guys are saying enlightening and opening up your minds and stuff. Okay. Okay, the first thing you have to do is get over, 1,000 years of Christian propaganda.
Right.
Because, both of you are going to hell because you're opening your minds
Yeah.
and
Right.
exploring things that are going to make you both go straight to hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe that
I-
shit.
but-
But yes.
You understand what
But
I'm
that
saying.
is
We
what-
completely do.
I think
Exactly.
that's what led both of us here is being burned by Christianity, honestly. So,
Well, yeah, luckily for us, it's figuratively now.
right.
yeah. Yes. Yeah, I've definitely changed the way that I think about like God since starting this, and like belief systems in general. I think especially when it comes to the hate and shit like that, people are really reluctant to learn about things that they don't understand.
It's just
And
fear.
it's just passing judgment. Yeah.
It's just fear.
Right.
It's just fear. I hate it because it's not me.
Right.
But like when you sit down and look at all of them in a line, really they're all saying the same thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's ignorance and fear.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is fear because anybody can be stupid. I'm stupid. I'm stupid every day. Okay? Everybody's
Right.
stupid every day.
Yeah.
But you have to not be afraid to be stupid and say, oops, I was stupid.
Yeah.
Can you please show me how to not be stupid again?
Yes.
And that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
if you can't get over the fear of that, then you're hopeless.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And that's where I stand right now.
Right.
Because usually I'm much more, pink pony girl, and I want everybody to love and be loved and get along. But nowadays you find yourself in positions where you just have to look at people and say, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I'm done.
Do you have any advice for somebody who's struggling to connect with their deck?
Yeah, well, sleep with them under your pillow. Put them under the new moon. And don't annoy them.
So
You
don't
might-
ask them too many questions.
Yeah, because you're probably just trying to make them tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
Oh, Interesting.
Yeah.
I could see that.
You're just shuffling until you get a card that you like.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. You're just shuffling until you get that ace for solitaire. You're not, yeah. Because you have to remember, it's not a game.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
They are cards and you're playing with them, but it's not a game.
Right.
And especially if you make a really, really good bond with your cards, they will eventually tell you, fuck off, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. So
All right.
don't ask them what you should make for dinner tomorrow.
Well, it's different, like, because if you're playing a game where, like, you pull cards and you're learning your cards, like the way you said that,
Yeah.
you've been investigating your cards like that to learn the different, that's completely different.
Okay.
But, like, if you're frustrated with something and you're doing a 3-card spread and you're on, like, the 14th 3-card spread, I think you've burnt them out, and I think they're not going to tell you anything.
Right.
So
now they're playing with you.
and they're done playing.
Yeah.
Because it's either going to be very, very repetitive or actually start writing down the cards that are coming down, because actually they're going to actually start making sense, where it'll be like you'll get a lot of wands.
Okay.
Or you'll get a lot of swords, because the wands would be them trying to, like, beat you off, push you away, or swords because it's cut off. We're done. We're not talking about this anymore.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So would you suggest a beginner start with the Rider-Waite deck of cards then?
I would, yeah, but like I said, it all depends on, what if you were just never knew cards at all and walked in and those Aleister Crowley cards jumped off at you?
Yeah.
Because, you got to realize this is Magick as well. Mm-hmm. So, it is totally touching into my psychic abilities, you know, because like I said, I'm the conduit. These are my tools. So, in the same way that every witch uses her own, you could be told this is what you need, this is what you need, this is what you need, and that's all bullshit. You know what you need.
Right.
In that one hot minute when you really need something, you know exactly in that moment what you need. Whether it's a piece of hair off your black cat or a fluff you pull out of an old stuffed animal, because that's exactly what you need to add to that fire. You know inside what you need. But yeah, if you just want to go about it and really understand the deck and start understanding the meanings, totally Rider-Waite. That's, like I said, those people put a lot of thought into these cards. And if you actually study the progression of the cards, they put a lot of historical thought into the cards as well. So I would think that the most ancient meaning of the cards has survived best through the Rider-Waite.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
For sure.
It's funny how you say, like, you pull a piece like the black hair or the stuffing. Her and I joined, like, a pagan Facebook group when we first started this, and it's funny is, like, someone would say, like, okay, I'm having bad luck at work, I'm not getting along with my coworker, can someone help me figure out a spell? And 100 people would reply, and they would all reply with something slightly different.
Yeah, totally.
So it's really just what you feel, what works with you. So it's interesting that you say something like that.
Right. And see, as far as stuff goes like that, too, I've always felt of myself more like a solitary witch. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I always feel like, because it wouldn't be, I don't feel like spell work, because I always feel like the spell work's on me.
That's how I feel.
I don't feel like I'm enacting anything on anyone else. I always feel like I'm enacting it on me.
Right.
Like, if I'm not getting along with someone, I feel like I'm enacting the spell on me. Like, why am I making this so difficult for myself? That's kind of how I work with things, where it's like to protect me, to take care of me. Mm-hmm. To, if they don't like me and I don't like them, then why do I care?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To get to the root to it, let's get to the root.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I care?
Right.
That's the spell I'd be working on. Who cares?
Right.
I don't want to do anything to them. Why do I care? That's the spell I'd be doing. Help me not care, because why should I care?
Right.
Yeah.
And see, that's where it's more internalized, and it's always, I don't know, I've always thought of it kind of like mirror spell work, even though there is mirror spell work where I don't do that per se. Mm-hmm. It's just mirror because I am always looking at myself.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I'm always looking at myself.
Makes total sense.
Right, where I'm not looking at what can I do to them to change them.
Yeah.
Or what can I do to this to change that. I'm always looking at me and trying to get to the root to it. What can I do to make myself better, to make this situation better?
Yeah.
You know, like I said, there's a big difference between a witch who says, well, I hope he goes far away and I never see him again.
Yeah.
And a witch that says, I hope he gets his dream job and moves to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just look at the karma. And people say karma, threefold, blah, blah, blah. There's, Jesus, we could argue for 10,000
Well, I
years.
am a huge believer in karma.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
I'm just saying, but are those, especially who practice shadow work on a daily basis, they will argue, okay, there's a lot of different arguments about it.
There is.
But if you want to really embrace it and really think about balance, because where there's light, there's dark, there's always balance.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's how I look at it.
Yeah,
you know,
what you put out there.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like you can, that same amount of force, that same amount of energy you put in that spell could be, fuck him and I want him to go away.
Yeah.
Or fuck him, I hope he gets his dream job and he moves to Hawaii.
Right.
Now, which energy do you want coming back?
Right. Yeah. I want that dream job in Hawaii coming back
Bam,
at me.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And that's what I always kind of think, where it's like, how is it gonna me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it gonna me?
Yeah. That's so true. I've never really thought of it that way.
I mean, I kind of have because, like, I came across the idea early on in this journey of, like, the Grey Witch.
Yeah.
And it fits me. It fits me, but not in the sense that some people think of a Grey Witch as somebody who will do blessings and curses. And while I'm not necessarily looking to curse anybody, I feel like the idea of the Grey Witch, it kind of tells you to feel those feelings, but decide how you want to make the output, as far as like not necessarily cursing somebody, but yes,
Sure.
I want them to leave me alone.
Yeah.
So now I can do a spell to make them leave me alone.
But see, I can understand that too because of the fact that women are so traditionally and so historically put upon and told to not to.
Yeah.
That's just a sense
the
of power.
anger, the
Right.
sadness,
Feel
like-
the anger, feel the
Yeah.
sadness, feel the vindictiveness, feel that. But then also know that you have the power to go,
I can turn it into something positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because see, we're not supposed to feel that. We're not supposed
Right.
to be that way. So yeah, in that sense, I totally embrace that because
Yeah.
there's so much of the dark too that is terrifying and horrifying, but you got to know it's there.
Yeah.
Are you just going to pretend that evil doesn't exist?
Exactly.
Are you gonna pretend that there's that you shouldn't put salt around your house when you feel something bad coming?
Right.
No.
Right.
You know, because for me, I think the best curse is the threefold protection. You know, when you say,
Yeah.
you know, I bind you from doing harm to me. I protect everything I love. I protect everything close to me, dear to me. And anything you send to me is coming back to you threefold. So you better hang on.
Yep.
Because if you're doing this to me, it's coming back. Because I have a clear conscience. I have a clear way. I have a clear path. And if you're sending this to me, I'm protecting myself right now. So you better get ready. Because if you're doing this to me, it's coming back 3 times.
Right.
And I mean, technically, that is a curse.
Yeah.
Because I am willfully taking whatever energy that person's sending to me and
Directing it back towards
you got
them.
it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically, that's a curse.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, during the Inquisition, it would have been a good enough curse to get me burned. So,
Yeah.
as a little girl, we're taught to ignore our instincts.
Yeah.
We're taught to ignore our instincts. We're taught to be soft but not hard. We're taught to be hard but not soft. We're taught to be quiet and not loud. But then we're taught to answer. And everything, it's so confusing.
Yeah.
And then you finally just reach a stage where you're either so quiet no one even hears you or so loud that people are afraid of you because you're biting everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a lot of chaos to get through.
A couple.
I think I went through both of those stages.
Right.
Yeah.
I may have experienced.
I think everybody does. It just depends on how long it takes you before you
Yeah.
get through the other side of the tunnel.
Yeah.
A few years back, I had told my best friend, I said, I have to start trusting my gut more, my instinct more.
You have to. It's your witch stinks.
It is. And I know something, but then I'm like, and and I do the other thing, and then it crumbles, it falls, it goes wrong, and I'm like, damn, I should have trusted my gut. Yeah. And I know one time her and I, we were on vacation, and we were in a tropical location, and we had went like off the beach a little bit, and we were doing some stuff, and then I was like, I'm getting a really bad feeling. I'd like to just turn around and go back. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, no hesitation. But normally I would have been like, oh, I feel bad, but I don't want to be the party pooper and turn around, so I'm going to keep going. And then we would have been in a situation where we didn't know where we were. Maybe some locals were trying to interact with us. Like, something would have happened.
It doesn't matter.
And I'm not naive and stupid. Like, I'm very mindful of as being a woman, you have to be very mindful of your surroundings.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But I said to her, I don't feel good about this. I would like to go back. And she was like, yep, let's go back. And we went back. And I'm like, I need to get better.
Right. And not just in instances of fear.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because, that's the only time we're allowed to listen to our instincts is when we're terrified.
Right.
Because then you listen to your instincts.
Yes.
You have to listen to them all the time. You have to listen to them when you're in the parking lot and do I go left or right for that parking spot? It's always going to come back to 3 Hail Marys for a parking spot. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, when you go with your gut, it's 99.9% of the time it's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, it's like, when you're running late for somewhere and you just don't think about it, and all of a sudden you start making every light. And so you get to go a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. And it's just like you find that perfect pace, and then you show up 10 minutes early, even though you were 10 minutes late. But just, because you just let go, and it's just there. Mm-hmm. And sure, of course, it's coincidence, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that you just hit it right. And, you were just doing everything just right because you were just letting it go. You were just going with the flow.
Yeah. I think my other issue too is like even though I might have like a feeling that something is bad, if I think someone else will benefit from it, I'm like,
willing to suffer.
Yeah. What's good for the rest of everyone's okay then,
right.
And then I sacrifice myself.
That's a mommy thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I need to stop.
I know way too much about Satanism. I know a lot. When I went all the way around the world, I had to go deep.
Right.
There were books that my mother was like, and it's like, if I'm going to learn about this, then because Hermione Granger. If I'm going to read this, then I have to read this.
Yeah. You and your sister are both like just. You absorb information and you seek information. You're so knowledgeable, and when you're stopped dead at a source, you go another way to find more information.
Yeah.
Like you're like, no, that's not going to work for me. I need to find more information a different way.
Well, we were really lucky because my mom raised us like that.
Yeah.
Even when we were little, she used to always say she wasn't raising little girls. She was raising future women.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
So she was pretty tough. She laughed because she was always a poser. She never got into the feminist movement or anything, but in her own way, she was very much an element of it.
Right.
Because, can you imagine saying she wasn't a feminist, but then telling people leave them alone? Those aren't my little girls. Those are my future women.
Right.
Yeah. But she wasn't a feminist.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we all contribute in our own way.
Yeah, totally. She didn't see hers because she was like, well, I wasn't a bra burner. And I'm like, that wasn't the only quantifier for being a feminist.
Right.
Right.
You could wear a bra and still be a feminist.
Right.
Yeah.
You can shave your armpits too, I swear.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, unless you've been married for 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a choice now.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. So this was fun. So why did you guys decide that you wanted to do this?
I think for me, at least, it was like a couple of different reasons. Like, I have always thought of myself as more spiritual than religious, but I've never really looked deeply into anything. I got distracted by being a mom and stuff. So, but now as I'm like in my 30s, it's kind of like awakening. I hit like a real bad anger thing like a couple years back, and
anger it's funny because anger usually prefaces it.
And it was anger with men and society. And so that, I think, kind of led me. Me and Heather were talking a lot about it at the time. And then she bought me a spell book, and I was like, okay, I like this. And then I bought a bunch of books. And
well, no, seriously, when you start to understand how intricately the patriarchy is involved with every aspect of us being possessions.
Yeah.
And then when you see the antithesis of it is witchcraft.
Yeah.
It's so stupid, but so true.
Yeah.
That's why it's negative. It's Satanism. It's all these horrible, bad things because it was women being self-empowered.
Yeah.
It was women knowing women's bodies. It was women making medicine. It was women taking care of their villages. It was women taking care of all the children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they had to take all of that away from them.
Yeah.
Because, how can we treat you like
powerful.
chattel? Right.
Yeah.
If they can, oh my God, can that bitch read?
Right.
Yeah.
Why has she got a book?
She has an opinion?
Yeah.
Right.
You mean they're all writing in that book?
Right.
Burn them all.
Yeah, so it was kind of, for me, a mix of that and then still the Christianity aspect. My kids went to Christian school. It harmed them a lot. I sent them there because I thought they would get a better education.
Of course, yeah.
And they would get more one-on-one attention, and it ended up being really harmful for my oldest. And I got them out of there now, and it's like a complete 180 in their mental states too. So
that's good.
Going through that with them after my own experiences with people being negative towards me about from Christianity definitely kind of pushed me, I think, over that edge to be like, time to start looking at some different stuff.
I'll go on record right now. I fucking hate Christians. And I will say that with the purest of heart because of the fact that most Christians are false Christians.
Yeah.
And it's so overwhelmingly to the point that the Christ himself, and I do refer to him as the Christ, because I'm so sick of people using his name in vain. Which is funny, because my grandmother used to always yell at me for that when I was young. But if I say Jesus fucking Christ, I don't think that's anywhere near as offensive as the people that use his name in vain every day when they use his name with their lies and their deceit and their hatred, and they're just... It's just the Christ himself would weep. And, if this Armageddon bullshit was real, oh, man, they'd be the first ones that he'd sweep up into their evangelical fires of hell.
Yeah.
Because they're such hypocrites. They are such hypocrites. And that's why, like I said, you can leave this part in. I fucking hate Christians.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people they're like, aren't you Catholic? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I realize the irony in this. But, I can't. They are the most hateful, hurtful.
The most hateful people I have ever met have all come from Christianity.
They are the first people to line up together and say, we hate you.
Yep.
And it's like, is that really what you got from the Christ? Really?
Yeah.
Did you ever read the book? That's what you took away from the Christ.
Right.
Because, there's a lot of evil things that would be like, I met that guy and that's not what I got from him, but wow.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But wow. Because, it's just even other religions are like, what the hell is going on over there? They try to specify it as if it's like an American flux now, but it's not.
It's definitely
because
not.
Because if you look worldwide, I kind of watch BBC on PBS and stuff like that. No, they're having the same problems in Germany and other areas where these fucking Christians are just... They've just got like this evangelical spirit where they're just going to make everyone Christian just like them.
And I think really for the other thing too, when we started doing this was like Christianity tried to wipe everything else out.
Yeah.
So there's got to be reasons.
Yeah.
And I want to know them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like even it's getting to ridiculous to the point now where there is even that crazy guy with that church right now who's talking about going out and burning witches again.
I don't know.
Oh, that gets me super excited because I hope he stops by.
I haven't heard.
I'd like to talk.
I want to know who that is because I haven't seen any of the burning witches. But we talked about a group of people. Was it in Louisiana?
Florida? I thought it was Florida.
Florida?
It may be Louisiana. It's down south for sure.
They were outside of like a holistic bookshop and like a crystal shop, and they were like singing and like trying to preach to them. And
because like I said, fear and ignorance. Because of course they obviously knew what was going on inside of there.
Yeah.
Well, in the back room, the abortions were happening.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah. But
Just
seriously,
stupid.
yeah, no, it's like, going back to, casting those spells. Yeah, let that guy come and I'll show him how quickly I can figure out how to draw a circle and summon a demon. I mean, it's not really my speciality, but I'd give it a try.
Right.
I would definitely
I'll make
give it a try.
a special accommodation for
yeah,
this one.
I think I could figure it out. Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, I was just talking to her one day, and really the same thing. Like, I didn't grow up with religion. I think most religions are pretty phony. The majority of the people that I've met that are really religious are bullshit.
Oh my God, yeah.
And in the 90s, I did a lot of research, and but there wasn't a lot of resources available for
I know.
that kind of information in the 90s.
I know.
Yeah.
And you couldn't openly talk about it because then you were a Satanist.
Yeah, you had to find your cute little witch lesbian bookstore to sneak in and get all your information.
There wasn't
and your
any
tarot cards.
in town here, you know.
Yeah.
And then I became a mom, and so all that kind of went on the back burner. And then again, when I was in my 20s, I started researching different religions because I am spiritual, but I'm not religious, and I didn't know how to express that. I didn't know how to connect with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so then I went on this religious journey for maybe about 5 years, and then I lost it again because I couldn't find anything that fit my morals and my standards.
Oh, I know.
And so then that led her and I just talking one day about just our belief systems and how religion has affected us, and how, we're both spiritual, and what it really means to be considered a witch or a hippie, and how we identify as ourselves. And we're like, man, we got a lot of stuff to figure out.
We realized, I think, how much we really didn't know, and how much of what we did know was based off of societal, society telling us what this is.
And especially the
what
patriarchal
this means.
societal rules, because that's what dictates everything that's force fed to us from the moment we come out of the womb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's where I guess I'm kind of luckier that I grew up Catholic, because it was so ceremonial. Mm-hmm. And that's where you take away a lot of it too as a Catholic witch, because it's all hidden in there.
Yeah.
The incense and the fire and the ceremony, and it's just, and then when you start exploring, you're like, oh, that's where we get that from. And
I
that's
think
where we get this from.
Something we have discovered as well. And I know for me, there was a witch and a religious person. And it wasn't until we started really looking in that we realized, oh my gosh, you can be both.
Yeah.
Yeah, the witchcraft is more just a tool.
You guys, the biggest reason why the Catholic Church is stalling on women taking a position of power is because they would have to call her a priestess. That's the biggest problem. We have nuns should have to be a priestess, and they just can't deal. They just can't deal with that.
It's not a word that they like.
It's not a word that they can deal with, because that's an evil word.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. Gosh, this has been great.
Yeah.
Cool. Been really good. You think maybe you'd want to come back another time and read for one of us?
Yeah, I could totally do that.
Okay. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
You to give me some time in between, dying.
And dying, let's recover from that death.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Hex Haven. If you enjoyed our content, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. We appreciate your support, and if you have any topic suggestions, feel free to share them with us at hexhavenpodcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.